But today we're going to have a live discussion with a special guest. He is the national spokesman and the Minister of Information for the August 3rd Collective, also known as ATC. He is a historian, he's a researcher, he's an educator, he's a groundbreaker, and he's an overall New African revolutionary nationalist. From Richmond, Virginia, send your hearts and love to our special guest, Haki Kweli Shakur. So we're going to get started with our interview. Any questions that you have for Haki as you were hearing him speak, please drop them into the chat and we'll make sure to pull those and talk about them at the end of the episode. He might also answer your question as he's speaking. Hey Haki, hey. Thanks for kicking it off with us. I'm like breaking up on your audio just a little bit, but I think you're connected good. How you doing, Haki?
I'm doing fine. Can you hear me?
Yes, I hear you perfectly. You sound amazing. Thanks for being here. I'm loving the background. I'm loving the artwork. I'm loving the environment over there. Looking fresh and fit. Can you first start off with telling us a little bit about what is Black August and why it's important?
Yeah, I definitely can do that. To understand Black August, you have to understand the New African Revolutionary Prison movement, and you have to understand the overall struggle of resistance of the New African nation. I would just say this: Black August month. Let me just start off by saying this because I want to try to clarify as best I can, because a lot of people be confused. They think Black August is a holiday. It's not a holiday. It's not the second Black History Month that a lot of people get confused about. They think it's the second Black History Month. It's not that. It's not this special cultural expression month, or that people like to get caught up in. Also, they think it's a cultural celebration and things of that nature. Even though we do discuss culture throughout Black August, but it's not that. We don't want it to seem like it's something that we're celebrating, because it's a commemoration of our ancestors, our brothers and sisters who are revolutionaries, who were martyrs. That's the basis of Black August, that people have to understand, that we're commemorating martyrs, and the specific martyrs that we're commemorating during Black August are the individuals who are the foundation of the New African Revolutionary Prison movement, which is 8 specific martyrs. Names that people should write down and also remember is W.L. Nolen, George Jackson, Khatari Gaulden, Jonathan Jackson, Alvin Miller, Cleveland Edwards, James McLean, William Christmas. Those are the specific 8 New African martyrs that we commemorate during Black August. And what Black August was founded on was their assassinations during August. Also, it's something that people have to understand, that they get confused also, is that it's a twofold observation and commemoration of Black August, which is BAM, Black August Memorial. That's the 8 martyrs that we commemorate. Also, there's another aspect of Black August also, which is Black August Resistance, which we call BAR. So it's BAM and it's BAR. BAM is those 8 martyrs that we specifically commemorate through flea days, through the totality of Black August. But also there's the aspect of Black August Resistance, which we, also pay homage to our political prisoners that are still alive, those who have birthdays during Black August, of well-known freedom fighters, activists, revolutionaries during Black August. And also we take it back to the past, because we know everything is based on the past of chronology of our history. So we also, we give commemoration and observance to those resistance events that took place in Black August, like slave rebellions, the Gabriel Prosper slave rebellion, the Haitian Revolution, Nat Turner's rebellion, several other slave rebellions that took place throughout Black August, and also other events that took place throughout Black August where we resisted. So that's just the basis of what Black August is. We're commemorating our martyrs, we're commemorating our political prisoners, and we're commemorating all our freedom fighters.
I appreciate you breaking that down, because a lot of people do say, isn't this a second Black History Month? That thought really, for one, belittles Black culture, because anytime we talk about Black people and commemorate Black people, it's not just another Black History Month. Our history is so versed and huge and dynamic. There are many cultural aspects of African history that we commemorate throughout the year. And we don't just say, oh, this is another Black History Month. Black History Month is something America made to belittle Black history and try to put it all into one thing. So it's very important that we separate the two. And it's not just for Black people. Black August is about unity. It's about all people. There are political prisoners that are of Latin American descent, of Hispanic descent. There are political prisoners of all different races and ethnic backgrounds, and they are all a part of this, not celebration, but commemoration, not holiday, but day of observation. So it's important that we use the right language when we're talking about these dates of importance. So I really appreciate you highlighting that and breaking it down. Now, can you talk about its relevance to today?
Its relevance today is basically what some of the most important aspects of Black August, which is the aspects of what I'm good at, and what the work I participate in, which is the history. Like I said before, we have to understand and put the proper history in context so we can educate people on the other side of history that they may not, know about. So that's one of the most important relevances of Black August, is for this to be a month that we set out throughout the year where we can take a look back, you see what I'm saying, and educate our people on things that they might not be aware of. That's the biggest thing. Black August means awareness also. So at the same time, I believe the relevance of it is today is the prison industrial complex and what's going on inside the prison industrial complex, to make people understand that we have people behind the walls that are going through the same oppression that we are going through as people outside of the walls. You see what I'm saying? So the relevance of it is basically the historical context, and to break down that historical context to our people, our youth, our families, our households, and our communities who are not aware of the prison struggle or the prison movement or the oppression of new Africans, brown people, oppressed white people that are captured behind the walls, who are going through this brutal repression and oppression from this government and from state-sponsored terrorism, police terrorism, police brutality. All these type of things are going on inside the prison walls, just as worse as going on outside the prison walls. So I think the relevance of Black August is basically just to teach our people the other side of our story, because people we've been indoctrinated with one side of our story, but there's multifaceted, extended versions of our story that has not yet been told. And a lot of our youth don't know about these stories. A lot of our elders don't know about these stories because they're colonized people. So I just think Black August relevancy, and it's going to get more relevant because, as we continue to educate people about Black August, more people will start to, come into Black August and want to, understand what Black August represents and what it is. So I would just say, yes, the relevance of it is basically the historical context and educating our people.
And that's really, really important to think about, the fact that there's a month that our ancestors crafted out for us to be able to educate one another and care for each other's well-being when it comes to knowing about our history and how it relates to our present. I believe that the prison is a microcosm of the United States as a whole. What's happening in our prisons is a direct reflection of the gross injustices that happen every single day on the outside. And there's no way that we can make the strides that we need to make as a society if we refuse to address what's going on behind the wall. For example, there's no way we'll be able to end the coronavirus pandemic in the United States if we don't end it in the prison. The way that it spread in the prison is through the guards coming in and out. The prisoners were probably safer than all of us. But obviously, because our system doesn't work the way I don't even say the way it's designed to, because it's not designed to work. The way that it's portrayed to work, it led to the death of, in Michigan, there's been over 60 people that have died from the coronavirus. There have been over 3,000 cases of the coronavirus. So we can see Michigan is not safe from the pandemic, and I can promise you we can see those exact same reflections and numbers all across from the East Coast to the West Coast. And so we have to focus on what's going on behind the wall, use this moment to educate ourselves about the prison industrial complex. And then also, we're gonna take a nice shift in this conversation, connect this commemoration of Black August to the Republic of New Africa. We need to be aware of other alternatives to the oppressive system that we are choosing to live in. And we're actually choosing to be here just by being here. So I want to talk about, what is the Republic of New Africa? Can you tell us about what that is, Haki?
Yes, I definitely can do that. The Provisional Government of the Republic of New Africa, in 1968, Michigan, over 500 New Africans, freedom fighters, activists, organizers, all transcended on Detroit in March 1968. And they held there in Detroit, which was a Black government conference. Some people like to call it the Black Power Conference, either or, but it was based on a Black government conference. And when those individuals got there, they all got there to organize on, like what we're talking about today, what is the solution to our struggles as oppressed people here in America. So all these great, brilliant minds, these organizing and freedom fighters got together, and on that date, March 31st, 1968, they would take a vote, which is called a plebiscite. A lot of people might not know what a plebiscite is, but a plebiscite is when a group of individuals who have a common struggle, a common language, a common group who comes together and they vote on which way and which direction they want to go as a people. So there in Detroit, these 500 people came together to vote. They came up with the plebiscite. 100 of those individuals voted into existence, which was the Provisional Government of the Republic of New Africa, by signing the Declaration of Independence. 100 of those individuals, led by the great ancestor Queen Mother Moore and the Obadeli brothers, signed into existence what we know today as the Republic of New Africa, which is right now the Provisional Government of the Republic of New Africa, because we have not yet liberated the land, the national territory of the Provisional Government of the Republic of New Africa. So the Republic of New Africa is that alternative that came on the scene in the late 60s, 68, 69. These brothers and sisters came together and say, look here, we have a chronology of a struggle of a people since we stepped off those boats. And the historical context and the historical struggle, as soon as we got off those boats, were returning to what we were before we were captured. Because we have to understand, we were captives. We are captured people that were brought here, and the people that was on the land were captured. And to put it in a more proper context so people can understand is that you, me, everybody that's Black, brown, we come from nations. We come from tribes. We come from a body, a government, and a way of life that we had total sovereignty, total independence. We come from nations. People have to get that in their mind, that we come from nations. We are nationals by national design. So these brothers and sisters, the descendants of these enslaved people, put in the proper context that we have always resisted. We always have fought for what? Nationhood. You see what I'm saying? We have the proper history. We have the chronology throughout history. Slave rebellion, slave resistance. They were all fighting for one thing, which El Hajj Malik Shabazz said is the basis of freedom: land. So our struggle in the Republic of Africa was founded on land liberation. We are here to liberate the land. We want to return to what we were before we were captured. Free, sovereign, national peoples. That's the Republic of Africa.
That's beautiful. And I feel, it's like I feel the power just being in Detroit, being in the city. What a coincidence it is. You know, we're meeting virtually, but we are meeting where our ancestors met years and years and years ago. The struggle is not over. And so we're going to, these cycles of resistance are going to keep repeating themselves until we have the land liberation. We are uniquely positioned as people to have nationhood. We settled for integration because we thought that that was, or we were told that that was the end all be all. Once y'all can integrate, you guys have what you wanted. You know, you're not excluded anymore. There's no segregation anymore. We're fine. But we've realized after however many some years of integration, it hasn't been that long. You know, historically looking at, you know, nationhood context, it hasn't been that long. We've realized that integration is not working out. It's not working out for us. So how can we use the celebration, the commemoration of Black August to amplify this movement to establish the Republic of New Africa? It sounds like we already have our foundation built, but how can we use this time of commemoration and education and observation and reflection in order to shift from where we are today into actually establishing our republic?
Right. This is what I'm always trying to educate people on, is that we don't have to commercialize Black August like they have done Black History Month. We don't have to commercialize it, but we do have to propagandize it, meaning we have to struggle into the popularity of the mainstream of the Empire of the United States of America, so that the 45 million new Africans here in North America can get awareness of this struggle that exists. You see what I'm saying? So we can take Black August and we can take all the sacrifices and all the struggles of the brothers and sisters behind the walls, because we know what they're fighting for. They're not fighting to be integrationists. They didn't die to be integrationists. George Jackson, Jonathan Jackson, James McClain, all these individuals, Khatari Gaulden, all the Hugo Purnell, all the, you know, New African Revolutionary Nationalists who sacrificed their lives in blood, you see what I'm saying, wasn't fighting to be included in the empire. So if we can take Black August for what it truly is, it's a commemoration month of martyrs who died for a nation. So now you have the basis. The basis is that we have freedom fighters who died for nationhood, which is what we are not. You know, we are naturally designed scientifically nationalists. Period. People got to understand that. You see what I'm saying? So it's our job and our duty as educators, organizers, freedom fighters, revolutionaries, to put all these into context. Black August is the month to put it in the proper context, to educate people who may not understand what is nationhood, what is sovereignty, what is independence, what does that look like? You know, so we can take this month and amplify it through propagandizing, making it popular, making it acceptable to our people, that is something that we could take these steps, and to make these steps look like it's possible. Because a lot of these type of things, if you know, you speak on nationhood, you speak on nationalism, you speak on these type of things, a lot of this stuff is far-fetched to our people. So we have to put it in the proper in the proper context and propagandize it to make them see the vision that this is possible. And actually, a lot of this has been executed. We have Haiti, the first Black, republic in the Western Hemisphere. So us being a nation is not far-fetched. And I do believe that Black August is that foundation. It's the foundation, because now we can show our brothers and sisters, we can show our youth that we have people who actually died in this modern age for that type of dynamic to come into existence, to manifest, to be separate. Separate is not bad. You see what I'm saying? We let our oppressors, we let the white supremacists. We let the settler colonialists, demonize this struggle, demonize separation. Because we're not talking about segregation, we're talking about separation. Those are two different things. And this is what these brothers behind the wall died for, trying to educate people that look here. Separation is something that we are founded on because that is voluntarily. Segregation is forced, just like integration, forced. You see what I'm saying? No, we are saying that we are voluntarily wanting to separate from y'all because we don't see that this relationship is going to work. You see what I'm saying? It's not working.
Yeah.
Not working. So we have to find August to teach our people that we have to come up with solutions and repair ourselves from this abusive relationship. We are in an abusive relationship with our empire. You see what I'm saying? We are in a relationship. And it's okay to understand that we have to get away from that, just like a female has to get away from an abusive husband. It's okay. Mm-hmm. So on that note, I just will say, like, we have the martyrs. Black August commemorating these martyrs. And we have to also understand that our nation was attacked in Black August.
You make a great point. We are in an abusive relationship with an empire. And not only is it okay to recognize that, it's critical to our health as a people. Or we're just going to keep suffering from genocide until there's barely any of us left. And we've seen that with different nations.
Right.
We don't need to wait until our 45 million turns into 1 million because we kept begging the police to stop shooting us. Why are we begging our oppressors to stop doing what they've designed a system to do? It's working in their favor as they created it. And we're trying to use the tools, the courts of the oppressor in order to get some type of justice. And it wasn't designed to give us anything. It was designed to do exactly what's being done. So now that we've recognized that, it's our responsibility as a people, as organizers, as sisters, brothers, mothers, fathers, to continue to educate until we've lit a spark of awareness in at least the majority of new African citizens so that we can shift into separating. And you made a great point about separation versus segregation. Separation is voluntary. Segregation is involuntary. Segregation, all your resources are managed by someone else. In separation, you are managing your own resources. So there's nothing wrong with managing your own, distributing it among your own, and using it for the benefit of your own. But when you are segregated, someone else is managing your resources. They're allocating what they don't want to you, and they're managing you and exploiting you for their benefit. And so it's important for us to make that distinction and to actually embrace what separation could be. We could actually design a system that is separate, completely separate and independent and self-managing and fruitful, that is for us and for everyone. Because when we thrive as a people, everyone will thrive. We built this nation on the backs of our exploitation, and look at it. Imagine if we built a nation on the backs of our success and our victory and the history that we're proud of. Imagine what the world could look like. Imagine how many countries we could support, how many third world countries we could lift up, you know? So that's our responsibility as a people. It's not just for our benefit. There is a global African diaspora that would benefit from the Republic of New Africa being established.
Yes, I'm glad you brought that up because I want people to understand that the Republic of New Africa, that's one of our main objectives and goals and aims. We're trying to build a society that's better than the society we know and has always known, which is brutal, repressive, and it's not for us. So we want to create a society that will represent the best of us, the new man, the new woman, that's productive, that's here to help other oppressed nations and other oppressed peoples across the planet. We want to create a better society, period, that benefits all oppressed people, specifically our people, because we have to do for ourselves first. We have to take care of ourselves first. That's something else
Yes.
I want people to understand, because a lot of our people just don't get it, and that's why they fall into the traps of integration, because they don't understand that it's cool for us to be to our own. It's cool. It's nothing wrong. It's not criminal, because they have tried to criminalize us being to our own and establishing our own as some kind of criminal outlaw type of activity. It's not, or some kind of terrorist activity. It's not. No, that's one of the standards of being under human rights, is to be a nationality, to have your own identity, to be a human being. No, when you're saying that you want a separate nation, no, you're saying that you want to be human, you want to be free, you want your own, period.
And we have rights to that as a people. Looking at our history, even the United Nations has stood behind us and said, y'all doing them wrong. Mass incarceration is wrong. But when we look at who has teeth in the United Nations, it's our oppressor. And so there's no one that can actually enforce what's right, which points again to the fact that we need to establish our republic, because we can have the teeth in the United Nations, and we will have that respect in the United Nations when we come together in solidarity with one another and in one accord. So now, knowing that as New Africans, we have a foundation of a nation, we have a constitution, we have a provisional government. What we need to shift our provisional government into the republic itself is that land. Can you talk about where that land is? Is it some island off of Africa? Is it here in the United States? Why was it chosen if it has been selected? And what's the significance of that area of land?
Yeah, I can speak on that. The national territory of the provisional government of the Republic of New Africa, people might not know what that territory is and what it looks like. Our forefathers and our foremothers chose 5 specifically, states in the deeper South, which is Louisiana, Alabama, Mississippi, Georgia, and South Carolina. Those are the specific 5 states that we're asking for and we're demanding as a nation. That's our national territory. That's what we claim. And the reason we claim this territory is specifically because, one, the horrendous human trafficking of our ancestors and the horrific slave trade that took place on our ancestors was at a high development in the deeper South. So our ancestors went through a horrific period of time in those specific 5 states. And we also understand that these 5 states are agricultural spots. These are places that has tons of land that we can, set up our economy, our food, our, if we want to do trade, with other nations, once we become a nation, these areas are tradable areas to set up industry. This is a place where we can set up our industrialization of our nation, which is these 5 states. And a lot of, like you said earlier, we built up the Empire of America off that land. You see what I'm saying? We built up the Confederate States of America off that land. So we built up 2 white nationalist nations off of 5 states' land, including the counties and the surrounding territories that we also claim, which is also other southern states, because a lot of people, they be having like a little issue with the 5 states when we discuss this, like why Florida is not included, why Tennessee is not included, why Virginia is not included, why Kentucky is not included. I want to clarify that they are included. We also have what we call the Black Belt counties. You know what I'm saying? That Republican Black. Also, we have what we call New African population districts. So we have New African population districts that works under the accordance of the government that's in all 50 states. Or should I say in the majority of the 50 states. We have New African population districts that are ran by, district reps who are doing government work for Africa. So another thing on why we chose these states is the specifics that this is where our ancestors are buried. This is where the generational, of our ancestors are buried at. So we want to claim that. This is also where the most new Africans, misnomer African Americans, live in North America. So we might as well take that foundation and that basis, since this area is heavily populated by Black people. This is the perfect place to set up a nation. And, it's basically elementary, but I get why people wouldn't understand it. And also, a lot of Black people are returning to the South. So this is our home outside of Mama Africa. This is our home. This is why we call it New Africa. We are saying that this is the extension of Mama Africa, because now we have Africanized this area, like our ancestors say in traditional spiritualist traditions. Wherever you bury your ancestors at, that's your home. So those 5 states in the Deep South: agriculture, industry, ancestral significance, population significance. This is our nation state, the South.
So this land, it's not like we went and we just chose some empty land. There's so many significant aspects of this body, this area, that point directly to the fact that this belongs to us. We didn't really have to choose it. It belongs to us because, like you said, it's where our ancestors are buried. So this is the land that has already been allocated to us divinely. It is ours. And I just want to share a personal story. And I think that a lot of Black people all across the United States share this story. My ancestors are from the state of Georgia. We're from Atlanta. My great-grandfather was a pastor. He was an outspoken pastor. He was Pastor Barry Gordy. And so he was forced out of his church by the KKK. They burned down his church, which was his home. And he had to flee with my grandmother and their children. They had, I think, 10 children at the time, up to the north. And a lot of Black people, we have cities that we're from. We have families from over there. We have homes, properties that we had to flee, that we had to leave, because we are refugees from that area. In the same way that, a hurricane or a terrorist attack can displace an entire community. The KKK and other associated groups terrorized hundreds, thousands of Black people and their families, so much to the point that we had to flee everything that we built and go up to the north, many of us. And so that is another reason why it is our responsibility to reclaim this land. And I didn't even know about the new African population districts. I think that that's a really good point because, I think, when I do live in New Africa, I will still miss Detroit, and I know a lot of us are still going to be connected to the city. We'll have a precinct there. Our government can communicate with leaders in the city of Detroit and make moves in Detroit. Fund buildings in Detroit, have organizations in Detroit. So we're not leaving behind anything when we choose to come together on our land. We are just shifting as a community in ideology about where we belong geographically, and we're using that in order to make moves nationwide and then globally. And so it's important to overstand that. I love your word. To overstand that aspect of New Africa and how it will operate as it relates to all the other 50 states or all the other 45 states. And it's important for us to make that move. I wonder when you think we shouldn't be waiting for the republic itself to be established in our minds. We need to operate now as if we are New African. Can you talk about the difference between a conscious and an unconscious New African citizen? Because to my understanding, we're all New Africans, those who are descendants of slaves. But what's the difference between those who are conscious and those who are unconscious, and how can we shift more people into that woke or conscious position?
Right, right. I would just say this, like many of us, you know, growing up, you know, as black people in America, you know, the first step you have to understand that we were colonized. Slavery was a colonizing period of time, meaning they were deconstructing us consciously. They were deconstructing us nationally. They denationalized us. This is something that we must educate our babies, our families on. We were denationalized because, like I said before, we have a history that predates the empire of America. We come from what were already established nations. We are nationalistic by science. We come from that. So when we got here, when they brought us here, they started up a straight colonializing of us as a people, denationalize us, detach us from knowing who we are as nationals, as being citizens of nations, of peoples, or tribes, if you want to call them that. But I would say this is that first step, you have to understand that you were colonized. You were indoctrinated mentally to, you know, to strip you of your identity of who you are. That's the first step. So as we grow as individuals and we start to overlearn and educate ourselves on our struggle of who we are as a people, we have to understand that, yes, we have people that are unconscious because they think they are Americans. See, when they came with the 13th, 14th, and 15th Amendment, that was a part of that colonializing process. Paper citizenship of an empire that you were forced into. Because when we came out of slavery, this is what we got to understand. When we came out of slavery, we were supposed to be given a choice on what we wanted to do because we were no longer binded by our enslavers, the colonial settlers. We were no longer binded to them. We should have been given a choice on what we wanted to do as individuals and as nations of people. We wasn't given that choice. Instead, they forced us into a paper citizenship and we became a colony, colonized people, colonial subjects. So when we say people are unconscious, we're just only basically saying that you are a colonial subject. You are colonized in this one. You are indoctrinated into being American. You are taken away from who you were. Now, being a conscious New African is being a person that you have the process of reconnecting to that you were stripped of. So now you have become back into who you were before you were captured, which is a citizen, a national of a people that have a national identity. So a New African is basically a person that understands consciously, I am now a person that's a part of a nation. I'm a national citizen of a nation of people. I am now decolonized. You see what I'm saying? And by birthright, I am a part of a nation of people. So all we're basically saying is that a New African is a person that's politically, socially conscious of who they are and what they're struggling for. You see what I'm saying? An unconscious person is a person that just basically is colonized and they're living under citizenship of the Americans. That's the two differences. You have the unconscious people who are still thinking they are a part of something that they will never be a part of. New African is the person that know they can never be a part of that situation. You see what I'm saying? So we're moving towards, we know that we are struggling and striving for and aiming for, which is to be separate. That's all.
That's beautiful. I love the way that you broke it down. It's all about not only what you understand that you are today, but also what you understand you're struggling for. So there are a lot of American citizens, Black people, who know they're from Africa, right? But they don't know what they're struggling for. So the connect is still not there. They still have no understanding of what New Africa is, what the Republic of New Africa could be, and what their role is in establishing it and then maintaining it. And we all have to go through that transition. And it's going to happen with every single person. It's just about when are we going to be able to catch the people that haven't been caught yet. And I love the way we ended on that question. We've got about 4 or 5 minutes left. So if anyone has any questions that they want us to address, please drop it into the chat quickly. But I just want to recap our discussion, our goals. This was a beautiful discussion between Haki Kweli Shakur and myself, Amani Sawari, and I really appreciate y'all being on this kickoff. We are going to continue to talk about the shift that our people need to make from commemorating the Black August month, which a lot of people aren't even there yet, but shifting them from just doing that to establishing the Republic of New Africa, to being in the mindset that this is where we're headed. This is our not just our hope, but our responsibility to our ancestors. If you have any final words, please share your wisdom with us.
I would just say this, is that, you know, it's basically what we state in the Provisional of Republic of New Africa, is that this, you know, from one generation to the next, is one of our quotes from the Republic of New Africa, is that we're struggling and fighting from one generation to the next till victory is won. With that being said, is that this is the time now for us to, we have to reset. This is what Black August is for. We have to reset. We have to study. We have to train. We have to do the most important thing of it all. We must do the work. Because right now, you know, everything is for the taking right now. Everything is right for us to educate our people about this other alternative and solution to our struggle as a people. Because we've been dealing with the same alternative for the last 50 to 60 years. You see what I'm saying? Voting inside the empire, marching inside the empire, you know, reform. You see what I'm saying? Something that we always run into, reform. So now we have to, I feel like now with everything that's going on, even with this double genocide that's going on now, which is the pandemic, the police terrorism that's continuing from our, you know, history of violence in this country, is that, hey, look here, it's time to take a real serious look at a real another alternative solution that has always been here, because there's been blood spilled over this other alternative or solution that we could take part in as a people and need to take a look at. But I will have to say this, it's going to have to start with us getting back into the community, getting back into the streets. And like I said earlier, we have to propagandize the Republic of New Africa. We have to propagandize this other alternative, this other solution that we may need to take a look at, because now we're at a serious epoch in our struggle. We're being genocided inside the walls and outside the walls. We're being murdered, genocided in the same way. It's no different, same struggle. You know what I'm saying? So I say we had a serious epoch in our time on where should we go? Where's the direction? Where do we need to go? We have it. Everything is in place. We have the government. We have the Constitution. We have the New African Creed, the Code of Umoja. We have everything in place. But now it's up to us New African conscious workers. We have to go back into the streets like our forefathers, our foremothers, and we have to educate our people about this. Specifically, the key thing I want people to understand, we have to get this information in the hands of our youth. Our youth are angry. They're tired. They want answers. They want solutions. They don't want to go through another 30 to 40, 50 years being oppressed, murdered, genocide. Now is the time to give them this solution. Now is the time to give them this alternative. Look here. There has been a struggle here for over 400 years of resistance for land. We have to get this into our youth minds. Land is the basis of freedom, not integration, not reform, not these things that we have been passing down generationally from generation to generation. Those have not been the answers. Because look at you. You're still being murdered. You're still being incarcerated. You see what I'm saying? Now it's time to take a look at how can we get away from this whole abusive relationship, period. Because you got to understand, Black people, African people, New African people, we are still political prisoners. We may not have bars around us, walking around in this society, this empire, but we're political prisoners. We're captured. We're not free. And I know that sounds crazy to a lot of people. A lot of people can't comprehend that concept. But you're captured. You're captured because you don't have where we have a flag, you don't have the land to sit that flag in. You see what I'm saying? You don't have your own economy. You don't have your own judges. You don't have your own president. You don't have your own economic currency. You see what I'm saying? So we must take a look at this. This is a process now. It's needed now, not later. We have to look at this process right now.
And now is the time. And you said it perfectly. We are so uniquely positioned right now in order to really, really let the masses know about this alternative. And so let's make sure we use this position to the best of our ability and we spread as much awareness as we can. Again, my name is Amani Sawari, and this is From Black August to New Africa with your special guest, Haki Kweli Shakur. Thanks for being with us, brother. Thank you so, so, so much.